welcome to another Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Today, I'm going to be unboxing World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King, published by Z-Man Games, and in connection with Blizzard, because this is based on the Blizzard MMORPG game, World of Warcraft. Now, you might be saying, what's an MMORPG? Well, that's massively multiplayer online role-playing games. And these started back, a long time ago. I never played World of Warcraft, but I had a friend who played a lot of World of Warcraft, and there are a ton of these out right now, or should I say several of these have come out since World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft even wasn't the first. I think EverQuest and some others even before that. Shadows over Camelot, or Shadows of Camelot, there was a game kind of like that I played. Anyway, these are online games where people can join up, and people all over the world, you don't know them, and you play almost a role-playing game or a fantasy combat game online. So this is taking the pandemic system and then adding that World of Warcraft theme. Now, pandemic system, or pandemic, started out as pandemic, which is based on fighting, cooperative game where you're fighting disease. You're collectively trying to fight and hold back the spread of a pandemic. There's 4 different viruses, and you're trying to come up with a cure. And that was one of the earlier cooperative games. Again, not the first cooperative game, but probably the most well-known of the co-ops, and really started off a whole genre of cooperative games. Now, Pandemic has had several different iterations. You've done Pandemic Iberia, which is taking the Pandemic series into Spain, and dealing with the pandemic of the early 1900s. You had Pandemic the Cure, which is taking Pandemic and making it into a dice game. And then you've got, Pandemic Rapid Response, which is kind of taking the dice game and making it into a timed game, a real-time game where you're rolling dice and flying over the world and trying to do massive responses. So these are all pandemic in the, virus or aid type themed type games. But then Pandemic has actually branched out into other genres as well. You've got Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, which is I might do a segment on this on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday, but this takes Pandemic and takes it to the Cthulhu setting, and does it quite well. This is actually a much simpler game than some of the other Pandemic games, but it does do the theme quite well. And Pandemic actually went into history. Pandemic followed Rome. So this is about the barbarian invasion or barbarian overtake of Rome. And you are Rome, trying to stave off each of the different barbarian hordes that are, descending upon you. And they all have kind of their different paths. This one really kind of fits like a States of Siege type game. So this kind of combines Pandemic and some of its mechanisms, and then adds in kind of the States of Siege type feel of all these different paths converging on the center that you're trying to defend. So these are some of the areas of where Pandemic has gone, and now Pandemic has gone to fantasy. And in World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King. So let's take a look at the back of the box here. You're going to get some minis. You got to have minis in a fantasy game. There's the board. Now, this, my understanding, it doesn't have quite the same feel of a States of Siege game. This is more of, it uses the pandemic mechanisms of how some of the Lich King's armies come onto the board, but this really is more of a quest game. You're going to be doing quests in this game and trying to accomplish quests to get some more special abilities to eventually take out the Lich King in kind of a boss battle that will take place in the center of the board, or over here at this portion of the board. So you get, in the box, you get 7 heroes. So there's different heroes you can play, and they have unique abilities. You get 1 Lich King, 3 Abominations, 36 Ghouls, 1 Ice Crown Citadel, 3 Strongholds, 100 plus cards, and much more. Now, this Abomination and Ghouls, that is reminiscent of the Pandemic Cthulhu. There were, your smaller minions, and then you had them bigger ones that came on the board, and if you got too many of those on the board, the game was over, and they were tougher to take out. I think there's some of that here between the Abominations and the Ghouls, where the Ghouls are kind of the smaller ones to take out, but then the Abominations are a little bit tougher. If too many of those get on the board, then again the game is over. So let's get inside the box and see what we have here. And this is sold, I don't know if it's exclusively, but I know that Target has kind of their line of games where they have, again, I don't know if it's all exclusive, but they have some where they offer, and this has been at Target for quite some time. So we get open here, decent sized box, good thickness here. You're going to get the rules and the contents. So there's your contents to show you what all you're going to get in the box. Here's how you build the Ice Crown Citadel. And here's how you build the Strongholds. Strongholds, I think, benefit you. And the Ice Crown Citadel, I think, is where you have the final kind of boss battle. There's going to be some counters or markers, a lot of different cards. Then you got some bigger cards for like the quests and your characters and the like. And there's the Lich King. Here's the Abominations, and here are the Ghouls. And then you've got seven unique heroes, and you've got some unique dice as well. The rules go over setup. This is in full color. As you can see here, it plays 2 to 5 players and tells you what your starting hand of cards are based on those players. Like any Pandemic game, you're going to have the hero deck setup, which is going to set up of when potentially bad things happen. In Pandemic, there were like epidemics or outbreaks or something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played it. But there'll be some of that similar mechanism here that basically makes the game tougher and pushes the game forward. And you got your difficulty, how many Stronghold cards, and how many piles for you to build your hero deck. And that's to insert some of those, I think probably some of those in previous Pandemic games, it's like usually a bad card that kind of accelerates the combat. Here's talking about your heroes, talking about the Scourge, which are those Ghouls and Abominations, and the Lich King, the dice, the quests, and how you accomplish quests. Playing the game, you get 4 actions. You do 4 actions, you draw 2 hero cards, you spawn Ghouls, and you activate Abominations. So the Abominations are moving in the game, and they're going to move towards the heroes. Drawing heroes cards, that's when you're going to get better cards, but you also can potentially pull the card that, accelerates the bad stuff that goes on. Here's a fight example. So you can move, you can fight. You can quest if you're on a certain quest location. You can rest. And then, it heals up because you're going to get damaged in this game. You have unique heroes and they take damage, and there's a little marker for that. And so your hero could die. I don't think there's player elimination. I think you just come back and you lose stuff, and you've got to start with lesser stuff at that point. All right, so this talks about the hero cards, talks about the Lich King, and the Lich King will move around the board, and when he's in a certain area, it's going to be tougher to fight him, or tougher to do quests, or tougher to fight the Ghouls or the Abominations, I believe, at that point. I don't think you fight him until the end. He just has an effect on an area until the end, is my understanding. Here's spawning Ghouls, and so you'll be drawing locations, and then you're going to spawn so many Ghouls in those locations. One thing that I think is different, I don't think there's outbreaks in here, like in Pandemic and some of the other games. If you have more than 3 of the minions in a area, then there's an outbreak, and all of a sudden or like in Pandemic, if you have 3 of a virus in an area, same color, then it will break out, and it will affect all the different other areas, and then you'll move up on the outbreak scale. Here, I don't think it breaks out like that, but I think it maybe spawns abominations or does something with abominations. You do not place the fourth ghoul. When an overrun advances the despair marker one space and place an abomination in the overrun space. So there's a despair marker, just like there's like an outbreak marker in Pandemic. If that gets to the end, you can lose the game, I believe. At least that's the way the other ones work. And then you spawn an abomination. Again, if you don't have an abomination to spawn, then you can lose the game. Winning and losing, completing quests, running out of components. So then you got a solo play because it's a cooperative game, so these can play solo very easily. And then some FAQ here, or frequently overlooked rules. And then the credits. So you have about 11. Actually, if you don't count the solo rules or the notes, you've got about 9 pages of rules. So not overly complex there. You're going to have your punch-out boards here. Not a whole lot. It looks like there's one there that's individually shrink-wrapped. This is the board. Then you get your cards here. More cards. These look like to be the quest cards and the character cards. We'll get into that. These are the abominations, so you get some minis there. You get the ghouls, some more minis there. You get dice, special dice. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Then you've got the little damage markers that they clip on the bottom of your character sheet. We'll get to that. And then we got something here. Oh, there's your heroes. And then you get the Lich King himself. Boy, that look at that. Got spikes all over there. So that's a caltrop right there. Throw that on the board and throw that on the floor and watch a burglar come in. And then you get the insert in the box. Sometimes I keep these, sometimes I don't. If everything fits back in, then I keep them. If they don't, then they go away. So let's take a look at some of these components here and see what we have. Let's start with the board, as I have everything on top of it. This is shrink wrapped as well here. Now this is not. This is interesting. You know, the one of the more recent Pandemic games I picked up was the Fall of Rome, which was getting into history, and again, it's kind of a combination of pandemic mechanisms and states of siege type feel. This one, I was actually expecting to see more war games or more historical type games come out. I haven't seen any more come out from Pandemic or heard about any more. This was the next one that I saw come out. And this one is, again, a fantasy theme. So it's not, this is more of a moving around the board and trying to accomplish quests and fight off the ghouls. So in that respect, this probably feels a little bit like Defenders of the Realm. If any of you are familiar with Defenders of the Realm, which is a really good fantasy game that is based kind of on a states of siege system, but you're moving around the board and accomplishing quests and building up equipment and trying to build up for a big battle. This one you're kind of building up too. You're getting these hero cards that help you do stuff and help you do quests and the like. So the Crown Citadel is going to go there, as we see here in the. Let me get out the punch board here. As I said, I got way too much stuff here. So we'll build the iced Crown Citadel with these pieces here. These are the strongholds which help you. Then you got some markers here, and then this is, I think, dealing with where quests can be active or where the Lich King maybe is. I have to read up on that, but that's all your markers that you get. Not a whole lot of markers in there, so not a lot of punch boards, but you're going to be moving around this board. Now the interesting thing here is it's got a nice little player turn track. You do 4 actions, you draw 2 hero cards, you spawn ghouls, and you activate abominations. Hand limit is 7 at all times. There might be cards that might affect that. Here's where you place the hero deck and the hero discard, because you're going to be drawing from there. And then you have your Scourge Track. Again, that's going to, if there's an overrun, then that's going to advance. Or maybe it's the Dispair Track that advances. This track advances with overruns. Then you have your Scourge Track. As that moves up, there's a Scourge Deck, and again, that's the deck where it's going to populate the ghouls on the board, and if there's over, it's going to populate abominations. And I think the game starts out with an abomination on the board. But as you go up there, you're going to turn over more cards of the Scourge Deck, so more locations to populate areas. And so the number underneath here is how many cards you draw. You start off drawing 2, but if the Scourge Deck advances, then you're going to draw 3 location cards. And so the AI, or the built-in opponent, starts ramping up. So the game gets, can start spinning out of control at some point, just like most pandemic games have that same mechanism where it starts getting tougher and tougher. So it's almost like a built-in timer. If you don't get done what you need to get done, it's going to be really tough at some point if that Scourge Track keeps advancing up there. So let's take a look at some of the cards you have here. There's basically 3 locations. So there's 3 areas where you can do the quest. You have the red, purple, and green there. So these are the different types of quests that can come in the game. And so there's like 2 for it looks like there's 3 for each one, 3 for the red. And so you'll pick one of these and that quest will go here. There's 3 for the yellow. You'll pick one of these and that will go here. And then there's 3 for the purple. And you'll pick one and that will go there. And when you're on the quest location, and let me try to figure out where so this one is the Nexus. So here would be the quest location. So that's probably when you put this on the board, you'll probably put this out to show that the quest is the Nexus. And if it's the Vault of Arcaven, then you'll put the quest token, you'll put the red token there. So that tells you where the quest is taking place, so you know where you need to go to do the quest. And so when you have your hero there, and you can have multiple heroes, and they can also help each other with what cards they might have in the hand. But then you can play cards, and you're also going to roll dice to try to get these symbols here. So you have symbols like the fist, or looks like the axe hammer there. There's different symbols. And then when you roll successes on here, I think the fists are successes, you can advance the token. There'll be a marker on one of these, probably these markers here, that you're advancing your quest. And then when you complete so you'll be rolling dice or playing cards to try to advance this. And when you do so, there'll be a benefit, or the goal of the quest, or the reward will be underneath here. Once you complete the quest, you'll get that reward, and that will allow you to use it for the rest of the game. So there's a certain amount of quest involved here to get some benefits but you're really building up for a boss battle at the end here. Here's the Crown Citadel. So this is another one of your the quest. Remember the Lich King's +1 damage, so something there that usually goes up there. And then you have your different characters, and these little tokens here, these little damage tokens here, you'll just clip that on the bottom, and it'll keep track of your damage. So each of the different characters have their own special ability. This one has teleport and frost armor. And again, if you get down to the skull, then you're out of the game. This also tells you where they start. It gives you a little bit of backstory, and then it tells you where they start out. So she starts out right here in the Valiant's Keep. So each one of them is going to have that. You've got this has an Indomitable and Lay on Hands. Starts out a little more health, and then tells you where they start out. So she'd start out right there. So each one of these has that. So you get 7 of these characters that you can use and mix and match. So you got a little bit of replayability here, in that you can mix up the characters. It plays, again, 2 to 5, and you can play it solo as well. So there's your different characters that you're going to use in the game. Then let's get to the cards here. Let's see what we have in these decks here. And a lot of this, again, is going to be the hero decks, which gives you a lot of different, but that's what you're trying to build a hand to take it out. Like in Pandemic, you had to get like 5 of the same color or to take out or to cure a disease you had, and then you had to cure it at a CDC location or a research lab. But certain characters have special abilities where they only need 4. Well, in this game, you're building up cards to go into the final battle at the Ice Crown Citadel. So this is a reminder here. This is a player card, so it tells you what your free actions are, what you can do at strongholds, what happens when you're at the Lich King, and it tells you your actions. You got move, fight, quest, and rest. And fight means you're just taking out ghouls or abominations. You're trying to clear them off the board because you don't want them to pile up, because you get overruns, you get the Dispair Track going down. I mean, you get all kinds of problems. Quest is when you're at the right location for the quest, and you can do the quest there, and then you can always rest and try to heal up your character. So it's not too complicated a game. You got 4 actions. There's also some free actions that you have, and then talks about Stronghold. So that's a little reminder card or player aid that you can use with the that the players can have to figure out what they reminder what they need to do. These right here are, what are these? Oh, these are the location cards. So these are the ones that you'll draw so many of these at the beginning and populate the board at the beginning with either 3 ghouls, 2 ghouls, or 1 ghouls, and then I think abomination. And then these are going to be pulled over at the end of each turn. You're going to spawn. You're going to turn this over and see where the ghouls spawn at, and that's dependent again on this track how many of those cards you turn over. And so those are just these correlate to different locations on the board and the like. And when there's an overrun, you shuffle, or when you draw one of those cards, and we'll get to it in the hero deck. These whatever's in the discard piles gets shuffled up and put back on the top of the deck. So you're more likely to draw someplace that has just been populated. So again, another one of the mechanisms in the game that is kind of hurrying you along. I mean, if you dally too much, you're going to be fighting a lot of stuff over the same territory over and over again. And you do not want to do that. And that's going to go, Scourge Deck's going to go up there. Then we have these go there. We'll open up that deck in a second. And these are the different rewards, I believe. I think these go like here. And when you finish the quest, you get this. And these are like overpowered cards. They let you do something that helps you, win the game, helps you in the final boss fight whenever you need to do that, or helps you clear off the board, or just do whatever you need to do in the game. So these are like special rewards. There's 3 of these because there's 3 quests, and they will be hidden under the quest until you finish that quest, which is get to the end of the quest track here. This quest track is kind of reminiscent of like 1 or 2 of the characters in Horrified. If you guys have played Horrified, I can't remember if it's the Creature from the Black Lagoon, or one of the characters has kind of a track like this that you're trying to advance it with cards and other stuff in the game. So it's just kind of reminiscent of that. So these are the heroes. This is really the primary part of the deck. This is the part where you're going to be trying to collect cards for their symbols, but it also gives you special abilities in the game as well. And so you're going to be, this is a defend card. So you're going to be collecting these over time, really for their symbols to help, take, like this one goes with that, this one goes with that. So you can play these cards to advance quest tracks, or of course you're going to roll dice when you're doing a quest, and any successes helps advance the track as well. And you might do combination. You might use some of the dice, you might use some of the cards, or if you have multiple heroes at a location, you might use some of the heroes' abilities as well. So this is the hero deck, and these are those cards I was telling you about. And the number that you put in the deck, I believe, is dependent upon what difficulty level. At least that's the way the other Pandemic games work. But when you draw this card, so each turn a hero draws 2 cards, and if a hero draws one or both of these, then you got to play it. So you advance the Scourge marker. So Scourge marker goes up, meaning that's going to dictate how many of the territories that come out for populating the board. So as that starts advancing up, it's going to be more difficult. You're going to put out more ghouls on the board, which could potentially have more overruns, which potentially could have more abominations, and you get the picture. So you're going to advance the Scourge marker. Whenever you draw one of these, you're going to draw the bottom cards of the Scourge deck, move the Lich King to that location, fill to 3 ghouls, spawn 1 abomination, and then discard that card. So these, not only do they move the Scourge track up, but all of a sudden it's going to make one area really bad, and it's going to move the Lich King around. The Lich King lives in these areas here. So like if he starts out the game in the purple, then if you draw the Scourge deck and you draw another one of these cards here, he will move to that area. So he's going to move to, what is that? Looks like the red area there. So he would go to here. And when he's in that area, then that makes it tougher in these areas to do quests and some other stuff. You get more damage. At the end of a fight, if there's any, you'll fight, and if you roll a certain number, you'll knock that many ghouls off. But then whatever ghouls are left or abominations, they do damage to you, again, on your hero card. But if there's a Lich King present, they're going to do more damage to you if they're present in that area. Then you're going to shuffle the Scourge discard pile and place it face down on top of the Scourge deck. So like whatever's been discarded, so that means that it's been stuff that's been populated over the previous few rounds, that's going to get shuffled and put back on the top. And then, you probably can't see it because it's off board here. That's going to be put back on the top. And so that means those things that were just populated are now going to be coming up again sooner than the other stuff. So again, the game, like most Pandemic games, it just ramps up and gets really tough over time. And that's kind of built in. So those certain number of those will be shuffled into the hero deck, which will go down here right off the board. And the rest of these will be shuffled up, and you'll get, certain things. They give you certain benefits, but you also use these for the symbols. And you're going to need some of these symbols here for the final battle as well, for the Lich King at the Crown Citadel. So that's the game, pretty much. I haven't gone over each of the rules in detail, but that should give you somewhat of a brief overview of kind of how the game plays. These Stronghold cards are pretty good because you play them immediately and you place a Stronghold on the board. And when you place a Stronghold on the board, that's one of these little bad boys here. And those Strongholds allow you to do certain things. Like at a Stronghold, when you rest at a Stronghold, you heal +1 damage. So you heal normally you rest, you're going to roll the dice and heal that, plus you automatically get +1 when you're at a Stronghold. Flight path action, move to any Stronghold. So that allows you to, when you're trying to retreat from a battle or something, you can immediately go to a Stronghold. There's kind of a teleport mechanism with the Stronghold that allows you to move around the board a little bit easier. So that's kind of I think that's just a regular flight path that you can just teleport as an action. It's not fleeing from a battle. It's just movement. It's one of the movements. You can move from one Stronghold to another, or move to a Stronghold as kind of a teleport action, which is really pretty powerful because you can, depending on where the Stronghold's at, you can move around the board a little bit easier. So it had nothing to do with battle. It's just gives you a free movement. So anyway, so that's what you have in the game. So this deck is really the core of the game is the hero deck, because you're trying to collect stuff for symbols and try to collect special abilities and move around the board and try to beat the Lich King before I think one of these tracks runs out. So that's what I have. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this game or any of the other games in the Pandemic world. It's kind of interesting to see that they've now gone to some IP and also have gone to fantasy space. with a little bit different different mechanisms. As I said, this is more of a fantasy-based game, and I don't know if you can see that guy good there. But you got 7 different unique characters to play, which is kind of cool. Now that one's kind of cool looking. And look at the sword on that. And you got the dual-wielding dwarf there. Easy for you to say. You got the abominations. See what they look like. They look like something else. Multiple appendages. And then you got the little ghouls. So again, love to know what you think about this game, or about any of the pandemic games. Are you interested in this, or is this just something that looks, you know, you'd rather cure a virus than quest against the Lich King? Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hope you find this interesting. Love to see any comments you have. Love to know what you think about this game or any of the pandemic system. And thanks for spending some time with me on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. And hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.